Maybe the style isn't your cup of tea, but Chagall knew what he was doing. We're going to have a look at Chagall's painting in a moment. But first, how do you appreciate art when you're in a gallery? I'm guessing you've been to an art gallery before, or maybe you're considering going for the first time. I go regularly now, not just in my hometown, but if I'm travelling anywhere, I'll take the opportunity to go and visit the local art gallery. I'm so excited, I said to my friends in 2006, I'm going to do the Louvre. That's right, I'm going to get my tickets to Paris, I'm going to buy them ahead of time to avoid the line, and I'm going to go and immerse myself in the greatest works of art on the planet. That's right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the Louvre. And of course, that is the language of the tourist. Have you done the Louvre? Yes, I've done the Louvre. But it's not how you appreciate art. But how do I go to galleries now? Museums usually have two components. They have the permanent collection, which is the stuff they have there all the time, and they have special exhibitions, which are ways of just getting people, maybe semi-regular visitors, back into the gallery. Often the permanent collection is free, almost always for citizens, but usually for everyone. And so an obvious place to start if you're wanting to look into spending some time in art galleries is to just go to one and see the permanent collection. And they'll have a good collection of works of art that is worth your time considering. Most cities see having an art gallery as a kind of marker of their arrival as a cultural place to be, more than a one-horse, three-pub town. The art galleries become this marker of having arrived. And so the cities usually actually spend a bit of dough setting it up well, finding some good location, usually some old something, populating it with good works of art. Now, they may not be internationally renowned works of art, but they'll be worth your consideration because there's nothing like seeing artwork in the flesh. Anyway, so back to the Louvre. So I find myself in the Louvre, and I'm going, if you've ever been there, you know it's massive, and I'm going from, this major gallery to major gallery. After a while, I came to the Italian section, which is beautiful, but it's full of rich, gorgeous, dark paintings, and they become a little bit overwhelming after a while. I've told this story before, but I found myself just needing to sit down, and there was a little sort of corridor to one side, and in it was a little bench. And so I sat on this little bench, and I looked up, and there was a single painting there near the bench. And because I was sitting down and trying to rest a bit, I just started looking at it. And it was, I can't even show you a picture of it because I've never been able to find it since. But it was a picture of Jesus's workshop. Now, his carpenter workshop. Now, I'm sure it was anachronistic. I'm sure all the tools were wrong and everything. But as I looked at it, it was quite clear that it had been painted with some kind of care or love or faith or something. The artist had injected something into it. When you looked at the tools, they had the wear marks of use, and the tidiness of the workshop sort of spoke of care as well. And the simplicity of the workshop spoke of, a simple man. And all of these things the artist was getting across without even having a picture of a human being in the frame at all. Simply an empty tool shop or workshop where Jesus had done his carpentry in the artist's mind. And as I started to look at this, I realised it took about 10 minutes for this to really sort to come in. I had this moment of revelation. A bit funny because I was in front of a religious painting. No, the moment of revelation was I've been looking at this painting for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm only now really starting to see what it's about. And the realisation I had was, you know what? I could do the entire Louvre if I had a few lifetimes. In other words, I could never consume all the paintings in this one building, because to give each painting the proper time to really understand it, by the time you multiply all that out, it's not possible. And so that was my realisation that I couldn't really do the Louvre. But you know what? I could appreciate the paintings I decided to spend time with. So I'm not going to tell you to spend 10 or 20 minutes in front of every painting, but rather be a bit more selective where you do spend your time, rather than just going quickly from one to another to make sure you consume them all. Go into a gallery, find something that attracts your attention. It's the artist's job to attract your attention. And when your attention has been attracted, go and look at a painting and then spend some time with it. And this is the way that I do it. After my glance, sufficient enough to know that I want to look at the painting, I take in the artist's name and title. Don't read the blurb yet. The artist's name may be known to you, but don't dismiss the painting if it is not. Knowing it's a Rembrandt or a Titian or a Picasso may help you in placing the painting in an historical context, but only if you know who they were. Don't worry if the artist is unknown to you. Now the title. The title is more important than you might think. The artist chose the title. It's a clue to intended meaning. It's a way of interrogating the artist's frame of mind. So sure, girl with a pearl earring sounds merely descriptive, but it's already told you something, that this isn't a portrait of the daughter of some famous count. It's a picture of a girl, an unknown, with a pearl earring. If nothing else, it might cause you to look closer at the pearl, and if you do, you'll notice that the light is reflected so delicately, so beautifully in it, that you are already deeper in than that first glance. Some titles are not as helpful. Number 51 seems useless, but it does tell you that the artist wanted you to work on meaning yourself, as does that most unhelpful title of all, Untitled. But even that tells you something. Now stand back. In the age of screens, we're used to being close, but the standard length to view a painting, especially a larger one, was considered to be 7 feet, just over 2 metres. Spend some time looking, really looking. The artist may have employed all kinds of tricks to lead you around the painting, to lead you to a focal point. That's the first look. Now look in the less obvious places. What's going on in the background? What's happening in the foreground? In my review of John Singer Sargent's Gast, it was only after I had looked at the painting for about 10 minutes before I saw what I considered to be the pivotal point of the entire painting. Do you see it? I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'll link to my video about Gast at the end of this one. Other questions I might ask myself are, is the whole painting dark, low-keyed, or bright, high-keyed? Are the colours rich or chalky? Is there a lot of difference between the lightest light and the darkest dark? Or does it have a narrower, less dramatic tonal range? Are the edges all sharp like a photograph or an illustration? Or are some edges fuzzy, indistinct, even lost, like in real life? Or has it given up on being representational at all, instead seeking to promote meaning or an effect on us without being troubled by depicting anything real? Or, as in this Picasso, depicting real things but not using realism, rather other ways of communicating? I'll have more to say on this when we get to the Chagall. Does the painting seem laboured or fresh, stodgy or lively? What is the mood? How does it make you feel? Downbeat, upbeat, sad, happy, intrigued? Please note that I'm not making a list for you to tick off. I'm trying to give you some ways of looking that you may not have considered. I then start to roam around the painting more purposefully. There are things in the background that you haven't noticed before, but the artist put them there on purpose. What purpose? It might be simply to make the subject more prominent, or there may be other clues as to meaning, connection with the artist. Only after I've had a good look will I go back and read the blurb. The reason I do it in this order is that I want to gauge my own reaction, my thoughts, my insights, before I'm led on by what others see. And the blurbs can be very helpful. They may offer historical insight you haven't seen yet. They may offer artistic insights you haven't considered. It's helpful to see what others have seen, but give yourself your own chance first. Do this regularly and you'll begin to appreciate artworks with a greater depth. Finally, I will get in close and look at the brushwork in individual places, particularly the main subject, but really anything about it that catches my attention. A last step back and a final considered look, and I'm on to my next painting. Alright, let's apply all this to Marc Chagall's painting, The Spoonful of Milk. As I said, we'll start with the title, The Spoonful of Milk. Well, it's not particularly striking as a title, but it offers some clues. For example, the lady is not dispensing medicine, so we can assume the man is not incapacitated. This is confirmed by the fact that he can obviously use his own hands, because he is holding up the book he is reading. As you stand back to take in the whole painting, you become intrigued. Why is this grown man being attended to in such an intimate way, as if he's a child? Why does the woman feel the need to literally spoon-feed him milk? What does it say about their relationship? Is she expressing love or servitude? And if love, it's still strange. And what kind of love is it from the man that he allows his wife to do this? And of course I'm making assumptions that it is a man and a wife. Well, the scene looks domestic. She has a domestic looking scarf on. He looks at home. My assumption is reasonable, I conclude. Our thoughts go deeper. Maybe he is suffering from something after all. Not all sickness can be solved by a spoonful of medicine. Maybe he's depressed. Her mouth is open like she is encouraging him to eat by starting with the easiest, smallest step he could take. Sip a spoonful of milk. Now ideas of servitude are replaced by ones of care. And around his head, that bright red, the idea of depression is given further weight. Red and raw, hurting. Later, maybe in the blurb, you might read that Chagall used colour to express emotion. This does two things: confirms you're on the right track in seeing something in the red, and also broadens your thinking that colour can convey more than merely representing reality in the way a camera might. But for now, as you take in the whole scene, you are aware of emotions at play. The strong colour contrasts and angular strokes of the background now conveying far more than your first glance could possibly have seen. Now we focus in on his face. It is ashen. His beard is also unkempt. All signs of something wrong. He may not be depressed, he may be just convalescing from something else. But either way, he is not fully well, and the help of his wife at this moment is critical. Not in merely providing nourishment to him, but in encouraging him to partake it. We'll never know exactly what is wrong with him, but that doesn't matter as much now. The main point of the painting is that whatever it is, his wife is helping him through it. Notice that Chagall didn't call it a wife helping her husband. That is what a writer would call being too on the nose. If the title calls out exactly what we should see, we don't get to discover it for ourselves, meaning we are less invested in the scene. Show, don't tell, another writing expression, applies here. The art of painting abounds in this, and it's a greater point of connection with the artist to look closer and find the meaning for ourselves. Alright, let's look in other places on the canvas. The table looks like it may be covered in newspaper. They are poor. His clothes look like they may be pyjamas because they've got a matching top and bottom. Yes, he has been unwell in one way or another. The yellow hat. Striking, but I'm not sure what it is about. Yellow for sickness? I don't know. You move on. His eyes are closed or more likely facing directly downward onto the spoon. He is willing to interact, to accept her encouragement. The book remains in his hand though. He is not giving himself wholeheartedly to being helped, which is why she needs to verbally encourage him. Okay, a final full look. The Spoonful of Milk. Absolutely brimming with meaning. You wouldn't have just walked by it, would you? Thank you. I hope you got as much out of that Marc Chagall painting as I did. And just to fit in with the theme of this video, I really only started to see that after I looked at it for a while. But I'm probably labouring the point. Thank you for watching to the end, and plenty more coming. See you next time.